The next speaker is a very accomplished gentleman. His name is Mark James. He's a former senator from Nevada. He has the largest and most successful taxi fleet in Las Vegas. It's always a pleasure being out in Las Vegas. I was stranded there for the storm for 8 nights. I'm just happy to be alive and back home as well. Mark, why don't you say a few words about Frias transportation infrastructure? He's been actually spending time at the IATR starting last year, and we're so happy for your sponsorship. He sponsored the beautiful binders. If you notice, the binders this year, which are very durable, have the 25th anniversary logo on it. So thank you, Mark, and thank you for listening to the regulators and trying to structure a system for them that makes sense for them from the bottom up.
Thank you. Thank you. Is this on? Okay. I think Matt might have been stranded in the club at the Wynn Hotel, actually, very late at night or early in the morning. Make sure you can hear me. Can I close this computer here? Okay. We have a little unique perspective, I think, on the panel. As Matt said, I am the CEO of Frias Transportation Infrastructure, which is a new company that is developing software that we're aiming primarily at regulators. But my other hat is that I am the CEO of Frias Transportation, which is the largest taxi cab provider in Las Vegas. We operate 7 companies, 5 taxi cab companies. We do about 30% of all the trips in Las Vegas, about 9 million trips a year. So we continue to put out 34,000 shifts a month, 770,000 trips a month, and so in that we deal with the riding public from around the world who come to Las Vegas. We deal with drivers and driver unions, industry service providers. Most of those who you're hearing from today and who are at this conference presenting have been through our office. We are the largest customer in Las Vegas of some of them who are presenting here. And we work under 2 regulatory agencies. And my remarks today are aimed primarily at regulators. And I'm not going to do too much selling of FTI. We did that yesterday in our sessions. I wanted to talk about this controversy that surrounds this industry, this technological revolution that is going on in this industry. We've all listened to a lot of invective, I think, in the press and elsewhere about how the entry of this new technology is going to tear down our regulatory business model. As I said, we're one of the largest companies, I think, in the country who's in the fleet business. And I really never have been worried about it tearing down our regulatory business model. Because there is a fact, and that fact is that buying a ride, buying personal transportation is never going to be like buying a book online or buying a song online. Fundamentally, no one in this room, probably, is going to go outside and get into a strange person's car who says, "I'll take you for a ride and I'll do it cheap." So what there is the fundamental policy underpinnings of for-hire vehicle regulation, some of whom Matt talked about, safety, accountability if something goes wrong, and consumer protection will never go away. So I don't view this new technology, whether it comes from one of the gentlemen up here who works with fleets, or whether it comes from somebody else who wants to be a third party, I don't view it as destructive. If people want to dispatch cars without accountability, cobble together unregulated fleets, and charge customers arbitrarily, they should be shut down. They are shut down, and they probably will put themselves out of business if that's what they want to do. But the other side of the coin is that I think some fleet operators in my position, and perhaps even some regulators, are burying their heads in the sand, or maybe different. Maybe they are seeing what's going on as a threat rather than an opportunity. And I think when you see something like this as a threat, I think that the result is lawsuits. The result is reactive legislation. And when we have lawsuits, courts decide our future on an ad hoc basis. And I don't think that's a good thing. Or poorly guided or poorly informed legislators decide our future. And I was a legislator for 10 years in Nevada, and I'm sure at times I was poorly informed. And I think the decisions I probably made then weren't the best ones. I hope I didn't do that too much. But if you view what's going on as an opportunity, then solutions can come from industry and regulators working together. And I think primarily they can come from good technology. So if somebody wants to try to help me dispatch some of my 1,200 vehicles, or my 2,000 drivers, I think that's great. I invite all comers to do that. I want to make sure that they play by the rules of our game, and that they're accountable to us, and that my brand is not destroyed in the process. So we're here to talk about for-hire vehicle regulation, and essentially, I had a cool slide yesterday, I wish I had it today. We brought a 1956 taximeter, which weighs about 70 pounds, and we showed that meter, and we pointed out that it really has not evolved much. But we think that the essence of this discussion has to focus on the evolution of the taximeter as far as the taxicab industry is concerned. Yes, we are collecting information now. We have payment companies that are here today that are collecting information. They collect it for us and we use it and we report some of it to regulators. We have dispatch companies that work with us and they help us collect information. We have camera companies now that are collecting more and more information for us. But is it really allowing us to regulate in the way that we might want to? That is, regulate things like long hauling, time and geographic restrictions or parameters on medallions or on vehicles, driver operating hours. Secondly, are the taximeters of today and the technology of today allowing us to accommodate all new technologies, wherever they might come from, such as hailing applications from third parties who don't have a relationship with a particular fleet? At the root of it, we're all here to serve the customer, all here to serve the riding public that we serve every day in Las Vegas. And if they want to use some new technology on a smartphone, or they want to choose from a panoply of different people who might want to get them a ride, I think it's incumbent upon us as fleet owners, software developer companies, and regulators to accommodate that. And so the essence of what we're talking about is that we believe that the fare calculation operation of the taximeter needs to be removed from the taximeter. We think that it needs to be in a server-based environment that is in the control of the regulator. And through that, the regulator is not only able to control the fare, is also able to allow other people who want to participate in the industry to be regulated and to put their charges into the fare calculation engine, which is resident in the server environment. We have developed this software approach as a prototype, and we're demonstrating it to various of you here at this conference. Somebody said earlier that we're talking about, well, I'm going to talk about the regulations. So speaking about the regulations, I think they're great. I think they do a lot of things to try to protect the riding public, and I think Matt and his team have done a really good job. I think what we need to be careful with the regulations is that we don't set in place just what we're doing now, because things have to change and this industry has to evolve. And in my opinion, I've only been in it for 7 years as the CEO of Frias, and prior to that for a few years as the lawyer for Mr. Frias before he passed away. But in my view, it is an industry that has evolved in technology much slower than other industries and that it should have. It means I have 1 minute left? Okay. And so, to sum that up, let me just give you an example of one of the things that we're talking about in the regulations. It says that a hailing charge has to be displayed on the meter. How? Unless it's something that is part of a regulated process, it can't be on the meter. The meter is a closed system within the taxi cab. So our proposal with FTI that we want to talk to a lot of you regulators about around the world is to adopt this server-based system that will allow anybody to participate in the taxi cab industry or the black car industry under the same rules as those of us who are providing the vehicles and the drivers. As long as they play by the rules, I think that the business that they are going to bring to this industry will be accretive to the business that we have now. I think we will preserve market share, and I think we will evolve this industry into the future where it needs to go. So I'll stop there, and I guess we'll take questions later. Thank you.